The $1 million check hit the table like thunder. My mother's champagne flute froze halfway to her lips, her eyes reflecting more money than our family had ever possessed. The same woman who had looked me dead in the eye 8 months earlier and said, "You're nothing but a disappointment wearing my last name." But here's what she didn't know. I'd been secretly recording every cruel word. Tonight, I was about to use their own greed to expose exactly who they really were. And what happened next destroyed their lives in ways they never saw coming. Wait until you hear the audio recordings that changed everything. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 28, and this is how I went from sleeping on my best friend's couch to building a multi-million-dollar empire while my family called me worthless, and how I orchestrated the most devastating dinner party in history. But first, you need to understand how deep their cruelty cut. Picture this. Christmas morning, 2022. I'm excited to share news when my mother delivers a blow that still haunts me. She looks me directly in the eyes and says, "Emily, you're 27 years old, sleeping on someone's couch, with nothing to show for your life. You're an embarrassment to this family, and frankly, I'm ashamed to call you my daughter." The room went silent except for the electric hum of Christmas lights. My brother Michael started that cruel chuckle, the same one that had tormented me since childhood. My sister Jennifer rolled her eyes, the motion sharp and dismissive. My father just shook his head in agreement, the newspaper crinkling in his weathered hands. What they didn't know was that while they were destroying my self-worth, I was already generating $180,000 per month. And I had a plan that would make them all pay. But wait until you see how I tested their true character. Growing up, I was the family scapegoat. Michael was the golden child, Harvard MBA, six-figure job. Jennifer was the family princess, successful realtor, gorgeous house. And then there was me, the artistic one, the dreamer, the one who never quite figured life out. When I dropped out of college to pursue photography, they held an intervention. Not out of love, out of embarrassment. I became the family secret, the daughter they wished would disappear. But here's what's beautiful about rock bottom. It gives you a solid foundation to build an empire on. 2 years earlier, I was sleeping on Marcus's couch, the springs digging into my ribs each night, eating dollar store ramen that tasted like cardboard and salt. My camera equipment was pawned, my confidence shattered like the cheap wine glass I dropped the night I lost my last photography gig. But desperation breeds innovation. While working as a waitress, I noticed something that would change everything. Restaurants were hemorrhaging money on food waste. In those dark hours between 2 and 6 a.m., hunched over Marcus's kitchen table with cold coffee burning my empty stomach, I was building something revolutionary. The blue glow of my laptop screen became my constant companion as I coded line after line of what would become Restaurant Flow, an AI-powered inventory management system that could predict exactly what restaurants needed and when. I taught myself coding through YouTube videos, lived on 3 hours of sleep and pure determination, my fingers cramping from endless typing. The first restaurant to test my system saw their food costs drop 38% in month 1. Word spread like wildfire. By month 12, I was secretly generating more revenue than Michael's annual salary. While my family continued treating me like charity, I was building an empire. But I needed to test them first. I decided to conduct the ultimate experiment in human nature, not asking for money, but asking for something infinitely more valuable: their belief in me. One by one, I approached each family member with a business idea, carefully leaving out any mention of my existing success. I wanted to see who they really were when they thought I was still their failure. Mom was first. "Emily, honey, you have great ideas, but you never follow through. You're a dreamer, not a businesswoman." I could hear her sighing through the phone, the same disappointed exhale that had punctuated my childhood. I hung up and stared at my laptop screen showing $240,000 in monthly revenue, the numbers glowing like a mockery. The irony was suffocating. Michael's response was brutal. "You don't understand business. You can't compete. It's just not realistic." Jennifer delivered the killing blow. "These constant schemes, maybe you should consider therapy. Sometimes we need to accept our limitations." But then I called Marcus, and his response changed everything. I don't understand all the technical stuff, he said, but I understand you. If you think this can work, then I'm behind you 100%. That's when I knew exactly who deserved my loyalty and who deserved to watch their assumptions crumble. I needed more than hurtful phone calls. I needed to document the full scope of their judgment. So I started recording everything. And what I captured will shock you. Family dinners became psychological experiments. Thanksgiving 2023 provided the crown jewel of recordings. I mentioned that I was working on something big in the restaurant industry. The response was a symphony of condescension. Emily's having another one of her episodes. Jennifer stage whispered to Michael, her voice dripping with the same condescension she'd perfected in high school. Dad jumped in, his gruff voice cutting through the dining room chatter. It's time to stop playing pretend and join the real world. Mom delivered the final blow. Some people are meant to be entrepreneurs, and some people are meant to work for entrepreneurs. There's no shame in knowing which one you are. I smiled, nodded, and agreed while my phone, hidden beneath the linen tablecloth, captured every poisonous word. They had no idea they were providing the soundtrack to their own humiliation, each cruel sentence being recorded in crystal-clear audio. Because while they were lecturing me about realistic capabilities, Restaurant Flow had just signed its 500th client. My company was now valued at over $8 million. Time for the revelation that would destroy their worldview forever. It was Mother's Day, 2024. The irony was perfect. I invited my entire family to Le Bernardin, a Michelin-starred restaurant where the air itself seemed to cost money and the crystal chandelier cast rainbow fragments across marble floors. Emily, this is too expensive, Mom protested, her voice tight with anxiety. We can't let you spend money you don't have. Don't worry, I said, my voice steady as granite. I can afford it. The confusion in their voices was delicious. How could their failure daughter afford such extravagance? They were about to find out exactly who their daughter had become. The private dining room was immaculate, white tablecloths crisp enough to cut glass, silverware polished to mirror perfection. The wine, a $400 bottle of Burgundy that tasted like liquid velvet, flowed freely. My family shifted uncomfortably in their borrowed formal wear, not understanding how their irresponsible daughter could orchestrate such elegance. During the appetizer course, I cleared my throat. The sound cut through their murmured concerns like a crystal bell. I have an announcement. Mom immediately tensed, her knuckles white around her champagne flute. Please don't tell us you're quitting another job. I pulled out my tablet, opening the Restaurant Flow dashboard. Real-time data flowed. 847 restaurant clients across 31 states. Monthly revenue, $680,000. Company valuation, $12.3 million. The silence that followed was complete. Restaurant Flow is the AI-powered restaurant system I've been dreaming about. The same system you all told me was unrealistic. Mom's champagne flute tilted dangerously. This can't be real, she whispered. My personal net worth is currently $4.7 million. The same daughter you said was meant to work for entrepreneurs, not be one. But that was just the opening act. I reached into my purse and withdrew a small speaker. Before we celebrate, I want to share something with all of you. Mom's voice filled the room like poison gas. You're a dreamer, not a businesswoman. The color drained from her face, as if someone had pulled a plug. Her hands began to tremble against the white tablecloth, making the silverware dance with tiny metallic chimes. Michael's voice followed. You don't understand business. You can't compete. He lurched forward as if slapped, his face cycling through shock and panic. Jennifer's condescending whisper came next. Emily's having another one of her episodes. She gasped audibly, pressing her manicured hands to her mouth like she could somehow recapture the words floating in the expensive air between us. Every family dinner, every phone call, you've treated me like your charity project. The family failure you had to tolerate. I stood and walked around the table like a prosecutor. But here's what's beautiful about your complete lack of faith. It gave me the perfect test of who you really are. I stopped behind Michael's chair. Michael, you make $180,000 a year. I make that much in 3 weeks. Your failure, sister, generates more revenue in a month than you'll make in 5 years. His face went ashen, the corporate confidence melting away like ice in hot coffee. I moved to Jennifer with the precision of a surgeon. You sold $2.3 million in real estate last year. My company's revenue last month was $680,000. Every single month. Tears started streaming down her face, black mascara creating dark rivers that carved through her foundation like tributaries of shame. This dinner will cost $3,200. That's what I used to make in 2 months as a waitress. Now I spend it on one meal to prove a point to people who never believed in me. The daughter you were ashamed of is now worth more than all of you combined. The shift in their demeanor was immediate and disgusting. Where moments before there had been shock, now I watched greed bloom in their eyes like poisonous flowers. Michael recovered first. I always knew you had potential. I was just being protective. The rewriting of history was breathtaking in its shamelessness. Jennifer leaned forward. I never meant those things the way they sounded. I'm so proud. Mom reached across the table. You know we love you. We've always supported your dreams. Dad joined the chorus. Your success is our success. Family shares in each other's victories. Then Michael said the words that revealed their true nature. What's the family investment opportunity here? There must be room for family to get involved financially. That's when I knew it was time for the final act. But that was just the opening act. I reached into my purse and withdrew a small speaker. Before we celebrate, I want to share something with all of you. Mom's voice filled the room like poison gas. You're a dreamer, not a businesswoman. The color drained from her face, as if someone had pulled a plug. Her hands began to tremble against the white tablecloth, making the silverware dance with tiny metallic chimes. Michael's voice followed. You don't understand business. You can't compete. He lurched forward as if slapped, his face cycling through shock and panic. Jennifer's condescending whisper came next. Emily's having another one of her episodes. She gasped audibly, pressing her manicured hands to her mouth like she could somehow recapture the words floating in the expensive air between us. Every family dinner, every phone call, you've treated me like your charity project. The family failure you had to tolerate. I stood and walked around the table like a prosecutor. But here's what's beautiful about your complete lack of faith. It gave me the perfect test of who you really are. I stopped behind Michael's chair. Michael, you make $180,000 a year. I make that much in 3 weeks. Your failure, sister, generates more revenue in a month than you'll make in 5 years. His face went ashen, the corporate confidence melting away like ice in hot coffee. I moved to Jennifer with the precision of a surgeon. You sold $2.3 million in real estate last year. My company's revenue last month was $680,000. Every single month. Tears started streaming down her face, black mascara creating dark rivers that carved through her foundation like tributaries of shame. This dinner will cost $3,200. That's what I used to make in 2 months as a waitress. Now I spend it on one meal to prove a point to people who never believed in me. The daughter you were ashamed of is now worth more than all of you combined. The shift in their demeanor was immediate and disgusting. Where moments before there had been shock, now I watched greed bloom in their eyes like poisonous flowers. Michael recovered first. I always knew you had potential. I was just being protective. The rewriting of history was breathtaking in its shamelessness. Jennifer leaned forward. I never meant those things the way they sounded. I'm so proud. Mom reached across the table. You know we love you. We've always supported your dreams. Dad joined the chorus. Your success is our success. Family shares in each other's victories. Then Michael said the words that revealed their true nature. What's the family investment opportunity here? There must be room for family to get involved financially. That's when I knew it was time for the final act. I reached into my jacket and withdrew a cashier's check with the deliberate theatricality of a magician. $1 million. Made out to cash. The paper felt thick and substantial between my fingers, more money than any of them had ever seen in one place. The greed in their eyes was immediate and absolute. pupils dilating like predators spotting wounded prey. This represents about 3 months of profit from restaurant flow. Money I've earned by building something you said was impossible. I'm going to give this $1,000,000 to someone in this room tonight. To the one person who believed in me when I had absolutely nothing to offer. Michael straightened his tie. Jennifer dabbed her eyes. My parents exchanged calculating glances. I stood slowly, check in hand, and began walking around the table. Past Michael, whose hands were trembling with anticipation. Past Jennifer, who had arranged her face into a loving smile. Past my parents, who watched with predatory intensity. And I stopped behind Marcus. I placed the check directly in front of him. Marcus, you believed in me when I was sleeping on your couch with nothing but dreams. This is yours. The explosion that followed was everything I'd hoped for. Michael shot to his feet, so violently his chair crashed backward onto the marble floor, the sound echoing through the private dining room like a gunshot. Are you fucking kidding me? You're giving our money to some random guy. Jennifer joined the hysteria, her carefully applied makeup now a disaster of tears and rage. We're your blood, your family. That money belongs with people who actually love you. Mom lunged across the table like a wild animal, her designer dress catching on the edge as she tried to snatch the check from Marcus's stunned hands. I carried you for 9 months. You can't give our inheritance to a stranger. The word inheritance hung like a toxic cloud. Money I'd earned had somehow become their birthright in their delusional minds. Dad delivered the killing blow. If you give that money to him, don't come to any more family gatherings. We're done with you. Marcus sat in stunned silence, the check trembling in his oil-stained mechanic hands, then looked up with tears pooling in his honest eyes. Emily, I can't take this. This is too much. You gave me a place to sleep when I had nowhere to go. You never once made me feel like a burden when I was eating your food and using your electricity. While my blood family screamed about entitlement, Marcus worried about whether he deserved a gift given freely. The difference was everything. You want to know what's beautiful about tonight? You're showing me exactly who you've always been. When you thought I was poor, you treated me like garbage. Now that you know I'm wealthy, you want to claim ownership of my success. I turned to face each of them. Michael, 6 months ago you told me I didn't understand business. Tonight you're demanding an investment opportunity. Which version should I believe? Jennifer, you said I needed therapy for my schemes. Now you're crying because I won't share the profits from those same schemes. Mom and Dad, you've spent my life telling me I wasn't good enough to succeed. But now that I've succeeded beyond your imagination, suddenly you've always believed in me. The truth is, you never saw me as a daughter. You saw me as a reflection of your own limitations. But I wasn't done. I had one final revelation that would cement their humiliation forever. I pulled out my phone, showing screenshots of emails from Google, Microsoft, Amazon, tech giants wanting to partner with my impossible little company. Restaurant Flow isn't just successful, it's world-changing. We're expanding to Europe next month. We have Fortune 500 companies begging to partner with us. The little sister you've dismissed is about to revolutionize how the entire global restaurant industry operates. My success isn't luck, it's vision you never recognized. For the rest of your lives, every time you see my name in the news, you'll remember tonight. You'll remember that you had the chance to be part of something extraordinary, and you chose to be small instead. What happened over the following months was like watching dominoes fall. And the aftermath was more devastating than I ever imagined. Michael's marriage crumbled within weeks. His wife Emma heard about the dinner and started questioning what kind of man she'd married. Divorce papers were filed within 6 months. Jennifer's real estate career took a mysterious downturn. Word travels fast, and stories about her treatment of her millionaire sister spread through professional networks. My parents' social standing imploded. They'd spent years making excuses for their failure daughter. Now they had to explain why their multimillionaire daughter wanted nothing to do with them. But Marcus? He used the money to open his own automotive repair shop, the dream he'd mentioned over late-night couch conversations. Within a year, he was employing 12 people and booked solid for months. He never acted like the money made him better than anyone. That's the difference between character and entitlement. Restaurant flow exploded beyond even my projections. We expanded to 12 countries. My personal net worth crossed $50 million before my 30th birthday. Every milestone felt like vindication. Forbes featured me on their 30 Under 30 cover. Harvard Business School, the same school that rejected my application, invited me to give a keynote. I accepted, partly because Michael had always bragged about his Harvard MBA. The speech was live-streamed. Over 200,000 people watched. In the Q&A, a student asked about handling rejection from people close to you. Some people will try to define your potential based on their own limitations. I replied, looking directly into the camera. Don't let their small thinking limit your large dreams. Sometimes the people who should support you most will believe in you least. I knew my family was watching. I knew they understood exactly who that was about. 2 years after that dinner, Mom showed up at my corporate headquarters unannounced. She looked smaller somehow, diminished by guilt and time. I made a mistake, she said. I want my daughter back. I studied her like a scientist examining a specimen. What you want isn't really relevant anymore. But I'm your mother. That has to count for something. For one moment, I felt an echo of the old longing for parental approval. Then I remembered her voice on the recording, cold and dismissive. You're a dreamer, not a businesswoman. The words still stung like a slap across time. You're not my mother, I said quietly. You're the woman who gave birth to me. But Marcus's mother hugs me every time she sees me, celebrates my victories without expecting anything in return. That's what a mother does. You had 28 years to be proud of me. You chose criticism instead. I don't need your approval anymore. I built an empire despite your lack of faith, not because of it. Today, Restaurant Flow operates in 23 countries and employs over 400 people. We've saved restaurants billions in food waste and revolutionized industry efficiency. I own homes in New York, London, and Tokyo. Most importantly, I'm surrounded by people who chose to love me, not people who felt obligated to tolerate me. Every Mother's Day, I take Marcus and Mrs. Patterson to dinner. She treats me exactly the same whether my company is worth $10 million or $100 million. Marcus opened 2 more shops and started a program teaching automotive skills to underprivileged kids. He never forgot where he came from, never let success change his character. The lesson that transformed my understanding of relationships. Real family isn't about shared DNA, it's about people who choose you consistently. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's becoming so successful that their opinions become irrelevant. I went from being the family disappointment to building a global empire worth hundreds of millions. But my biggest victory was learning the difference between people who love you for who you are and people who only love what you can do for them. And that knowledge? That's worth more than any amount of money. But this story isn't the only time I've had to rebuild from nothing. When you've survived being discarded by your own blood and turned that pain into an empire, you realize there's no limit to what you can overcome. If this story of turning family betrayal into million-dollar success resonated with you, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Because the next chapter involves a business partner who tried to steal everything I built, and how I destroyed his reputation with one perfectly timed revelation. Comment below. What would you do if your own family treated your dreams like jokes? Have you ever had to prove wrong the people who should have believed in you most? And here's a question that will blow your mind. If you had that million-dollar check in your hand right now, who would you give it to? Remember, family isn't who shares your blood. Family is who believes in your dreams and celebrates your victories without trying to claim credit for your success. Hit that like button if you believe blood doesn't make family, loyalty does. Subscribe now for regular, shocking revenge story uploads that will leave you speechless.